Everybody, we're recording Foxy Property Chat podcast episode.
Morning.
And if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments and we will do our best to answer them. Otherwise, we may as well get into things. You ready, Phoebes?
Yes, I just got a text through from the boys. Our kids' scooter managed to make the truck.
Nice one. Excellent
So
effort.
they're ringing to see if it was ours or not. So
He said ours. Excellent. All right, let's get
Ready to
things
go.
going.
Yep.
Hello and welcome back to the Foxy Property Chat podcast. How are we this morning, Jake and Phoebe?
Very well.
we're wonderful.
Wonderful. That's what I like to hear. So this morning, we may as well jump straight in to the main topic. I don't really know how yesterday went, Tuesday. We're recording on a Wednesday, but Monday was a bit, well, I wouldn't say strange because it does happen from time to time. Days just get, you plan and prepare as best you can, but things don't always go to plan.
Yeah.
So can we talk about Monday and, I don't know, some other days, just in general, that don't always go to plan and how you sort of go around dealing with it?
Sure. So
Maybe
obviously,
give context on what
Yeah.
happened on Monday. Yeah.
generally for us, we've got 5 installs happening on a day. So Monday we had 5 installs happening. We have a number of moving parts in our business. Obviously, owning the trucks. Then you've got the guys who run the trucks. You've got the stylists. You've got the admin. And then there's myself, who's normally overarching across everything. So scheduled the day, did the confirmation emails, all went out. Everything was supposed to be hunky dory. Hunky dory. As I'm driving into daycare to drop off Evie for her very first day at school. So my last child, I was a bit emotional. I got a phone call from a client who we had scheduled to arrive at her property between 1:30 and 2 o'clock to inform me that her photos were actually scheduled for 2 o'clock. Now, this is generally something we already are aware of. This is something that was a communication breakdown on our part, and that wasn't recorded anywhere. So obviously we cannot arrive to a 5-bedroom 3-living area property that takes around 3 hours to style at 1:30 and have it ready for photos at 2. Dilemma
Maybe
being,
if we had the whole team then.
we couldn't get up the driveway.
Oh, yeah,
I
right.
don't think you were there in the end, weren't you? You
Which
couldn't
one
get
was
up the
this one again?
driveway? Hart Street in Chelmer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah, you were. So it was your truck. It was really only one. Well, actually, every truck was affected in some way. This truck was significantly
And
impacted.
we should also say on that day, we had the 3 trucks out, like I said, but they were all full days. Like they were
Yeah.
already scheduled. They'd already left the warehouse.
They
as
were
well, so
loaded.
we
They'd
couldn't-
left the warehouse. There
Yeah.
wasn't an option for me to go, well, let's turn around and get that truck loaded and because it was going to a second job after that. That second job had to get installed on Monday because it had photos first up on Tuesday. There was no wriggle room, so I knew when the photos for the second job were. And normally when we haven't got the confirmation of early photos, it generally means the photos are at dusk on the next day. Basically we had to change around everything without having a compromise on the end result, without the client feeling like they had just been left. And I am really, really, like the team pulled together amazingly. I ended up getting 3 stylists out to that one. Everything came together really cohesively and great. The ability for us to be able to change things around like that only comes because we own our stock and I have the trucks. There was just so many different things happened that day, which it can happen when you have a lot of moving parts, but when our communication is normally so awesome, it doesn't happen. And we just had one little divot in this particular day.
And this
that
was
did
like a
create-
cascading effect as well. So
Yeah.
you had to change the truck that was going to that job later in the day. You had to switch it so it came earlier, which meant that the stock that you were going to have on the truck for that job later in the day now had to come from somewhere else. So you switched their entire day.
We were
But
really
what
fortunate.
that also meant was that one of the other trucks had to change what they were doing to get to help cover that one, and then the third truck had to cover the second one a little bit, so that all trucks ended up at the same job in the afternoon as well.
No, you're talking about a different day.
Okay, well this is
Yeah, you're on Friday.
I guess, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's a good example though of, it was a similar thing
Like,
on Friday.
hang on, where are you going with this?
Okay,
Yeah, so
I'm
Friday.
mixing up my day, but it was similar in the sense
No.
that one truck had to change something, which meant that the other
There was a
truck
flow
had
on
to
it.
change to help. So it's like often you can't just say let's just
Yeah,
switch
so
one to the
Friday, what that was I actually went out and did an install and got there, and the sofa was far too big for the space. I wasn't happy. We always say that we're going to leave a space perfect, and I won't compromise on it, and it needs to be presented perfectly for the house. So yes, it was a beautiful chase lounge. Yes, it could look absolutely gorgeous, but it was far, far too big. So what that meant is that Jerome had to bring me out a 2.5-seater sofa at Springfield Lakes, 28-ish minute drive from here. But it also meant Cam had extra stuff on his truck and it wouldn't fit what he needed. So he had to go. In the end, it meant somebody coming out to Springfield Lakes. All 3 trucks went to an install, which was only 10 minutes from the warehouse, thank goodness. However, it was that logistical rearrange that had to happen. And I think that whilst it's super beneficial to have that ability, it does create some stress for everybody. Everybody came together awesome on Monday. We were super fortunate that the jobs that we had to sort of change around, they were the same size. So both of them were 5-bedroom, both of them were 3 living.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, you can imagine what could have happened if it wasn't the case. And also, they were both blue.
But I like, because I was on that truck, Ebony did have to go to Freedom and pick up like nearly $2,000 worth of
She did,
whatever.
so she had to swing by Freedom Astley on her way up to Bray Park. I said to her, you need to buy it to fill your gaps, because it made far more sense for her to go do a purchase at Freedom than it did for her to swing back by the warehouse on the south side of Brisbane. That would have added easily an hour and a bit to her day. Freedom did add up. They were a bit slow and they didn't have much stock, so it did actually increase her time significantly. And yeah, in the end, she actually didn't even need that bed that she bought, I don't think.
No.
So she made a bed that she got for the next day. But it was a bit of a crazy day. But they're the days that honestly we can sit back and reflect. Yes, it could have gone better, but if that was thrown towards any other company who didn't have their trucks, it justifies our business model for us.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing that we did, the team did, because you were doing the daycare drop-off and it was in the morning, we had to basically rewrite the stock list, because the job we had to do earlier now couldn't have the same furniture that you were going to have. So you basically said to Russ and his truck, with Russ and John, I think it was, you said to them, this has to change. You're going to this pack up first. What I need you to do is have a first go at looking at what is coming out of one house. What can you use to replace the stuff that was going to come from somewhere else, and you have a first go at it. So they had they did awesome with that too. I knew that they were a good substitute for one another. I would never put that obviously on the guys to be able to figure out, because they can't even tell me if it's grey or beige. But they did phenomenal. So basically, I said to Russ has a kid. Like, Russ has got one daughter. He's got another one on the way. He totally understands what it means when I'm saying I'm taking Evie to daycare for her first day, and what he knows what they would have gone through when they took their daughter. So I wanted to give her half an hour. That's what I said. I just need half an hour, and I didn't want to compromise on that half an hour for her. We always said families are most important, and I know there was other stuff going on. I know other people relying on me, but she's my number one. She needs me more than anybody else. So I said to him, you substitute like for like. I know it's going to work. You've got 4 armchairs. Literally switch them. 2 sofas, literally switch them. And then once I'm done with this, I'll give you a call and we'll run through it together. And I didn't even have to change anything. They did it perfectly. So they are fantastic when it comes to that and the support. So having staff that are switched on as well significantly helps.
How would you have handled that, or
and
how
also,
did you handle
Jake
that?
was down the coast in the truck, so he wasn't MIA.
I wasn't.
It does sound like you weren't here, but we had
never
to
around
add
Jake.
to it. We had 2 stylists off. We have a stylist on leave. We had a stylist sick. We had 2 removalists off, both on that. Like, it was just
3, I think.
It was a day.
3. Oh yeah, 3
There's 5
removalists were
people
off. You're
away,
right.
yeah.
There were 5 people away
Yeah.
in a small team. We obviously can't have that much of a buffer to account for 5 people being off on sick leave a day. Like that would be wage increase significantly.
Lucky
So-
you got these awesome upstairs people.
Lucky, yeah. They did save the day, these guys upstairs. Literally emailed and said, literally everybody helped that day.
Yeah.
Even Gabby was out helping too. They're all here, which you all can't see, but everybody was out on deck that day, so it was a big day.
Yeah, good times. And how would you have handled that, or how did you handle that when we were a smaller team of 5 or 6 with 1 truck? Because I know it used to happen, but obviously it doesn't happen, maybe not as much. But you didn't have the extra truck so how did you handle it back in the day? And maybe that's more relevant to people who are listening.
So the options that you really have are, what can we not do today to give us time in the day? So for instance, is there a pack up at the end of the day that we're doing because we have time and it's ready, but it doesn't have to be today?
So
Can
you
we
can
push that?
Yeah.
Can we come back to the warehouse and switch something? For instance, like this is I guess you would look at the whole day and say what can be later in the day, and it just happened like this is a good example for Monday. like Phoebe said, the one that we were doing in the morning, the install, didn't have photos till early the next day. So can we switch them and, if the two houses weren't like for like, we would have had to come back to the warehouse and unload. And we've done that before. We've had a truck come back, or fully load, go to the install, and something had to change. They've come back and unloaded a full truck and had to change it. We've done that before. It's not ideal, but that's kind of the things that you can do.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's taken me a super long time, like 5 years, to even become okay with thinking, it was raining on Monday. And it wasn't like a little bit of rain.
Yeah, that first job we were at on the north side, that was... I nearly landed on my ass. I nearly slipped down the driveway.
And for me, for a really long time, it was, well, it has to happen, rain, hail, or shine. It happens. Photography doesn't happen, rain, hail, or shine. Photography gets cancelled and gets postponed. So one of the very first phone calls I will make if it's raining and if we've had delays is to the real estate agent, just to confirm that photography is happening, because if we go out of our way to move, like to, what's the saying? To shift. Anyway, go out of our way to make sure everything is, what's the word I'm after?
I don't know.
Moving heaven and earth to make it happen, and stressing everybody out and doing this, and then photos don't even happen. Like, it's worth asking the question. So something that's come a really, really long time for me to become comfortable with is going, is it happening today? Can I confirm that it's definitely happening? So it did happen. Photos for that particular property did go ahead, but I did speak to the agent that morning.
Yeah, worth the question, hey?
Yeah.
All right, Q&A. Would you hire someone who you think, this is coming from Talia again, would you hire someone who you think is using the job as a stepping stone, or is to set up their own business in the next 6 to 12 months? Would you still, like, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, look, we're probably just using this to put on your resume, would you still engage that person?
If they were the right fit.
Yeah, I think, the timing's probably the bit that changes my mind on that. Like, if they're open about 6 to 12 months, I'd probably be hesitant, because we're trying to build a team that, the training and the things that need to go into getting that person up to a point where they're...
Okay, so to play the other side of that, how long did it take us to start the business? I can say it's, I intend on opening a business 6 to 12 months. You get into it, you start doing it, start doing the team, that's awesome. It doesn't just take time, but then you start seeing, yes, they could definitely use the skills that they've acquired. They could definitely, some people say they could use the contacts. All of our contracts say that they can't do any of that. So that would never be a concern to me.
The whole stepping stone thing isn't an issue.
It's not an issue. Yours is training somebody up for them just to leave within 12 months.
If you're never going to know for sure, but if somebody is coming in and saying, look, 6 to 12 months, I've got this next thing, it's not that I would say no, but I would be a little more hesitant given the time it takes to get somebody ready or fully trained and capable within the business. But at the same time, we acknowledge that nobody is signing on forever. Like, that's ideally we'd like people to be here forever. But the reality is people are never going to, that's just the way it works. People come and go. So, and we've hired people who we know, we've had various visa things where people are definitely only here for a period of time. Like, we had, in fact, even depends on the role as well, actually. Now that I'm saying that, Andre was somebody who we hired about a year ago now in the logistics team. He was definitely only here for for 6 months, he said, until he had to leave the country. So that was a different thing. Like, we needed somebody at the time. He turned out to be great. I think
so good, it was awesome.
He ended up only staying about 2 months, and by that point we were like so disappointed that he had to go because he was so good. So we've done it. I think we'd be open to it. Depends on the person and the role.
But taking things that they've learnt, potential contacts, all that sort of thing, that's not even something that enters my mind. That sort of scenario.
Yep, cool. From Shane and Jane, Beautiful Living NZ, what if the market shrinks? Will that limit your plans for expansion?
So something that I found really interesting, and so it was a discussion I had with Diane, the owner of Blink Living, who's up in Noosa, that there's always a role for property styling regardless of how the market is performing. So what we saw in Brisbane when the market turned about 6-ish weeks ago, and it started to take that bit longer to sell a property, is we saw an increase in the amount of inquiry we've had come through. This month, we've had 186 consults.
Is that what compared
Actually,
to?
I don't know if that's the full number.
That's
updated that at the moment. So comparative to last month, when we had a phenomenal month, we had 110, 106 consults.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
So it was 100. So it was 110 lines on my Excel spreadsheet, but I've got a couple of lines at the top, so 106.
Yeah.
107. So the numbers that are pumping through are huge.
Interesting. Do you think they convert as much as
Our conversion right now isn't as high as it was last month because there are a lot of people inquiring for listing the month after.
Right. Okay.
So I can't really comment on our conversion for the consults that are happening for this month.
Right.
Last month's conversion was the same sort of level as it had been previously. I'm looking at Gabby and she's giving me nothing. She's ignoring me completely. It's fine. So Gabby's our consult stylist, as everybody knows. We keep track of all the consults that she heads out to, all of the online quote requests, everything that gets sent out as far as a quote goes is recorded, and then if it converts, we also obviously take note of that. If it doesn't convert, we also note down how come, if they listed with someone else, etc. So this I was literally looking at it last night, so that's where our numbers are sitting. So it hasn't, just the need for property styling shifts. You're no longer trying to style to keep up with everybody else in the street. You're now trying to style to stand out. So you're right now in a market when the market is really tough and there's properties that aren't taking the full 8 weeks to sell, and you want the price that people were achieving 6 months ago, you need to present the property properly. And that's what all great agents are really, really good at during a tough market, is talking about having those tough conversations about spending more money. Whereas agents who are a little bit new to it, who have really ridden the wave of the market going absolutely phenomenal, those tough conversations are hard because they're worried about losing a listing. The great agents, ones that we've had relationships with for over 5 years, they have these conversations and it's their bread and butter. They know exactly what the one that we put up on Instagram yesterday, it's been on the market for 90 days. It didn't sell. Yes, it was styled, but the property itself, it was dirty, the carpets needed redo, like you couldn't see past any of that. So they recarpeted, did some touch-up paint, had it styled properly, and I watched this space. I reckon it'll sell within 2 weeks for the price that they're after. Good. So yeah, it's just about presenting it properly. Yeah. But to answer Shannon James' question, there's always going to be reasons to style, just shifts during the market. So I don't see the number of properties we're styling really going backwards.
Yep.
So no, it doesn't change our plans.
But
that was long. That was a Jake type question. Answer to that question.
Spend 10 minutes
that's what.
The question and then
that's what we're here to do.
No, I think yes, regardless of the market, we think there's opportunity. Having said that, to answer it specifically, because every market's maybe different, every city's different. If the number of new listings and just properties that are able to be staged is reducing to a point where it's starting to impact your business, maybe in some of the smaller regional markets, I guess that's a bigger thing. In Brisbane, we kind of look at it and say we're still got a lot of opportunity out there that we can pick up, even
Gold Coast.
But in some of those places where maybe a downturn in the market does have an impact on the number of opportunities, obviously your business has to cater to that. Like if you have to slow things down, if there's not as much growth and it's more about holding market share and really strengthening your brand and your relationships during those times, that's what you would have to do.
And maybe double down on things like, if you've got spare time, marketing, improving your website, working on your processes, excuse me, because the market will turn once again. Is it partial or integrated? I forget the difference, but when the people are living, the owners are living in it.
Our marketing manager should know the difference on that.
No, I do know the difference.
Okay.
They both can be lived in, right? Partial and integrated.
Well, an integrated is lived in. So we're integrating their pieces into our styling.
A partial is
anything
just a few rooms out of the house or something.
A partial is generally we're just doing the master bedroom.
So in an integrated job, when they're living in the home, do you leave instructions on like how to remake the bed? They're obviously sleeping in beds that you want presented well. They're using coffee tables in living rooms. What are the instructions, and do you find that maybe we don't know this as much, but are they followed up on for open homes and things like that?
So the stylists, ideally we do a walkthrough of the property at the end of an installation, and we walk through with the client. If they've got kids, of course the stuff that's going in coffee tables is going to put in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Of course those cushions aren't going to get kept out. Completely understand that. So what we do, there's two things. The linen that they sleep in, we get chunky waffle linen so they can sleep in it. They don't have to remake the beds every day. It's just too much of a hassle, so we make it nice and easy.
They don't have to steam the bed.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Chunky waffled linen doesn't crease, so it always presents perfectly, or a quilted top type linen.
Oh yeah.
The other one you can get away with is a wash linen because it's meant to look creased. So they're the three that we generally use. The stylist, once they finish, they send an email to an integrated client that would basically say, hey, just touching base, because there's 2 points to this email. We send a catalogue of images of the beds that they might sleep in, things that they can remake. The other thing is, when we're on site and they're overwhelmed, they think it's amazing, they do a walkthrough. 9 times out of 10, they might have a question that they might want to ask, but they haven't asked it while we're still on site. So by sending the email saying these are our favourite pictures, just want to make sure you're still happy with everything. Attach also the catalogue of images just for your reference. That gives them the opportunity to come back and go, hey, actually I was wondering why there was no artwork in this photo. I was wondering why the chairs were positioned this way. It opens the opportunity for them to make sure that they're happy and have everything clarified.
Yep. Cool. And on average, how long does it take a stylist to make a bed in a property? Assuming they've got...
Do you want to answer this one, Jake?
I don't know, but I kind of guess.
Yeah.
I would have thought once, assuming like the mattress and everything is down, so you're just doing all the cushions and everything. I'm gonna say 5-ish to 10 minutes.
We've never timed it. But yeah, I'd say 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Depending if your linen's all sorted, everything
And
like
getting
that.
your
All the linen, that's
shades on.
assuming everything's in the room ready to go and it's just putting it together.
And it depends if you're in a hurry. Do you have enough property to get to?
Because they've already know what it's going to look like.
We do all of our selection. So the selection of the bed here at the warehouse might take them a bit longer than that while they're pulling everything together. It could only take them pretty quickly because they might have already used a combo of those cushions before and they're just adding a little bit of a different element. So we know what those beds are going to be before we get to the property, and I think that's the biggest difference in making sure it all comes together quickly.
Yeah, cool. I also missed a hello from RESA HQ earlier. RESA HQ, they said hello, so hello. So that's all the questions. Last section, under overrated.
Right.
A wristwatch, wearing a watch, having a watch.
Overrated.
Yeah, overrated.
Overrated.
I used to wear one, but in this job I used to hit walls and stuff, so yeah, it's gone.
I also find typing on keyboard, it can be quite annoying sometimes, where your wrist...
Yeah.
I just use my phone.
Yeah, exactly. Audiobooks.
I don't listen to them because when I'm listening to something it's a podcast, but I still would say underrated because I really like the idea of listening to things when I'm in the car or walking or whatever.
I find it really hard to listen to audiobooks. I don't listen to them. I
Phoebe's
try
one
to
of those
tune it
people
out.
that'll listen to a podcast, get to the end and go, sorry, what was that?
I think it's because I tune
Tune
my
it out.
my
Yeah.
kids out, so I tune out audiobooks. I can't listen to. I don't retain it.
Yep.
So
For
yeah,
you,
I say
overrated.
overrated for me. But for most people, it's a great way to consume content.
Receiving electronic invoices versus paper.
Oh, underrated.
Yeah, underrated. Makes everyone's life easier.
Having weekly team meetings.
Underrated, but we know that and we still don't do it as much as we should. But
We've
I
been
think,
doing fortnightly training sessions. They've been awesome.
just getting everybody together in the same room.
Yeah.
It's not even
Underrated.
for the team meeting. It's just having everybody
Yep.
together.
And, well, it goes hand in hand with the last one, having team social events.
Same. Underrated.
Yeah.
Just for team morale. We have 21, 22 people, so it's pretty rare that everybody's together at the same time. So being able to do that, I think, is really good.
I've booked in a team building, yay.
Oh, really?
How professional do we sound? Jake
Cool.
doesn't even know about it yet.
Oh.
Russ does.
What?
Jake doesn't.
Do you want to let us know on the podcast then?
Yeah, I can't remember the date. We're doing the high ropes course.
Oh, cool. Where at?
Very cool. I like
Some
that.
of the guys are a little bit scared of heights.
Is that the one down towards the Gold Coast?
Mount Tambourine.
Yeah, nice.
Cassie will not join in. She will observe.
No. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant because of heights. No.
Both. She's scared of heights, but she's also
has a
like
good
35
reason.
weeks pregnant, so she won't be joining him.
Yeah, no.
Might be a little bit too heavy to take that belly on a high ropes course.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So-
All right. Well, that's it for the podcast. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for everybody watching on the live stream and for those who submitted questions, and we'll see you back here next week.
Woohoo.
See you later.
See bye.
Let's stop
That was that building.
this one. All right, this one.